Hi everybody, we're going to be going through our senior project portfolios here and checking them out. Now I know that some of you are not done yet with your portfolios and we're all just going to have to kind of figure this out as we go. Don't stress a whole lot about it, but it would be a really good idea to go through your portfolio right now, see what you're missing, and make notes for yourself, so that when we do turn them in eventually, you have it all done ready to go when you're at that point. It's helpful to sit down with somebody else and do this, maybe a parent or a sibling, somebody. Again, we're trying to keep people from hanging out together, so I wouldn't necessarily get together with another group of seniors and do this, but it can be helpful to have somebody else's eye on your portfolios. It can be really helpful to have a set of sticky notes here that you can use so that you can put them on the end of your tabs with a note on what you need to do to get your portfolio up to standing. And I'm going to be going through this relatively quickly because there's a limit using this free recording software that I'm using. There's a limit to how many minutes we can do. So feel free to pause if you need to after each slide and spend a couple minutes looking at things. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is look at it overall. If you have the kind of portfolio that has the plastic cover, it's really helpful to put something in there, even if it's just, a printed clip art of an engine or a guitar or something like that. You should have a table of contents. Don't forget, the table of contents can be downloaded off the Senior Project website. You can download it and print it as is. You can also download it and reformat it so it fits the style overall of your portfolio if you so choose. I know not everybody has access to printers right now. If you do, let's try to get these portfolios done and tidied up so you don't have to worry about it later. If you don't, do the best you can, keeping all of your files organized so that when you are able to access a printer, you can just pop everything out. The next thing we're going to look at are dividers. You should have dividers that are visible, and by that I mean that when you put the plastic sheets on your documents, it pushes the documents out, and so they often cover the dividers. If that's happening with your portfolio, you want to take those plastic sheets, take your divider, put it inside the plastic sheet, and just make a little cut where the tab would stick out. If this isn't unclear, I can do a quick little video later and post that for you to show you what I mean. Also, your dividers should have either numbers on them or section names on them. These numbers are probably the easiest way to go because we have combined certain elements and it's a lot of verbiage to put on one single tab. All right, the letter of introduction and overview. For those of you that had somebody else look at your letter of introduction, which would be a good idea, make sure that it's a nice clean copy. Remember, the letter of introduction, also called the letter to the judges, is your very first impression to your judges, and so you want it to be your best possible work. You should also have signed this letter. For the overview, this is really not a difficult document to fill out. Make sure that everything is answered. Make sure that you are really clearly articulating what your learning stretch is. If you, for example, did makeup for your senior project, you don't want to just say, I've never done makeup on other people. I would really articulate exactly what you learned about doing makeup on other people. If you were learning how to mountain bike ride, then don't just say, I've never ridden a mountain bike before. Talk about what actual learning took place. Maybe there were certain skills that you had to practice to get to where you were safe. You should be separating the question from the answer some way visually. So a lot of times students will bold the answer and not write bold the question, but not answer with bold, so that the question's bolded, but the answer is not. Sometimes students italicize the answer. Whatever you want to do. Again, you can do some different fonts here. You just need to make sure that it's easily readable for your audience. Some people end up with really big gaps on here. If there's big gaps between your question and answers, then, close it a little bit so that it's easy on the eyes. Next is a letter of intent proposal. Hopefully you guys have these. Yes, they might be at school in your classroom. I know that's the case for some of my students. If you do have them in your portfolio, make sure that that letter of intent is signed by both you and your advisor. The proposal should be separated so that it's not stapled together and put into one plastic sheet, because your community members are going to be reading the proposal. So take each one out, put it in its own sheet, and yes, you can do back to back. So you can put page 2 on the back of page 1 to save plastic sheets. Your hold harmless, this was a legal waiver that you signed at the beginning of the year. This should not be attached here. If it is, it needs to be taken off, and when we get back to school, you need to give that to your advisor. The next section is the time verification form and narrative of mentor meetings. On that time verification form, make sure that you've totaled your hours, and make sure that you've totaled it accurately. The mentor should have signed this. When they sign this, they're just saying, yes, I believe this person did what they're saying they did. The narrative of the mentor meetings needs to be filled out. You could have filled them out, or your mentor, but they should be signed by your mentor. Journal entries, this can take a little bit of time, but one thing you want to do is double check that for every entry that you have on your time verification form, there is a corresponding log, and vice versa. For every log you have, it should be entered onto your time verification form. So make sure that the two of those match up. You also want to read through your logs for typos. I know some of you were doing your logs as you were doing your project, which is great. But, if you go work out at the gym and then you're sitting in your car typing your logs on your phone, I could see that there might be some errors in there that you need to make sure aren't there. The next section is evidence. It's helpful to have 3 different types of evidence. This is because on your portfolio, you do get graded on how, not only how much evidence you have, but the variety of evidence you have. If you're stuck on evidence at this point, I would chat with your teacher about that. Make sure too that your evidence is labeled very clearly. Even pictures that might to you seem self-explanatory might need some extra explanation. You might take a picture of an engine, but you need to explain to us what exactly we're looking at when we look at that engine. Assume that your audience does not know much at all about your project. If you have screen captures of text messages between you and your mentor, make sure that you're explaining that some way in a caption as to what it is that we're looking at. It's good to make sure that your evidence is organized logically, makes sense, and is easy for your audience to understand. Next is the mentor evaluation and the self-evaluation. So at this point, if you have not had your mentor complete the mentor evaluation, you just need to make a note for yourself. We're not asking you to go out into the public right now and to be interacting with people, but you do need to make a note that that needs to be done. The self-evaluation you can complete on your own. Again, this is a form that you can get off the Senior Project website. Make sure, again, that you're separating the question from the answer visually, maybe bolding the question and typing the answer in regular font. And again, you end up with these giant gaps sometimes on this one in between one question and the next. Make sure you take those out. That's really difficult to read. The next section are the thank you letters. You should have at least 2 thank you letters, one to your mentor and one to somebody else of your choosing. If there's anybody who's helped you at all with the project, then write them a letter. So I've seen students write thank you letters to their parents who've purchased supplies for them. I've seen students write thank you letters to friends who helped them through the project just by being a support system. I've seen students write to teachers, maybe to unofficial mentors. There's a lot of options here. If you don't feel like there's anybody else that specifically helped you with your project, think about the people that helped you get to your senior year. You do not have to write these as formal business letters. So we wrote our letters of intent and our letters to the judges or letters of intro in formal business format. I think it's good to do that. I personally prefer that, but you don't have to. You can handwrite on a card. Some people feel like that's better and more more authentic, that's fine. You just need to make sure that if you do that, that you're either making a photocopy of that card or you're getting 2 thank you cards. One goes in the portfolio, one goes to its recipient. You can do informal letter structure. That's perfectly fine. You just need to make sure you're doing that correctly. Make sure you put the date on it. You just don't put the addresses at the top, but you put the date over on the right. And make sure you're still addressing it to the person, dear so-and-so, and that you're closing it sincerely in your name. Your resume should be in here. If your teacher has collected your resume and graded it, you should not be putting in that copy. You should be putting in a clean copy of your resume. It's good to have somebody look at your resume. Your resume really should be perfect. In terms of achievements, some people might not have achievements. That's fine. That's fairly normal. But even if you, say, ran for the track team and you got a certificate and a pin, if you have those, put them in there. I have seen students put their letters that you get for a Letterman's jacket that they never put on a Letterman's jacket. I've seen them put those in there. Some students get certificates from teachers or attendance certificates, that kind of thing. You can put that in there. But you don't have to have achievements outside of the resume. You should have at least 2 writing samples in this next section, and you should have some sort of introduction explaining what the purpose of it is. Make sure, again, just like the proposal, that you're not just taking a stacked packet of paper and putting it into a plastic sheet, because the judges shouldn't have to pull it out and read through it and then put it back in. And again, you can put pages in back to back so that you're not overly using the plastic sheets. The prospectus is fairly simple. Remember, there's all different ways you could format this. You could do a timeline, you could do a Google slideshow, you could just simply write out paragraphs, whatever you want to do here. Just with this, you're tying up the portfolio, you're kind of tying up your senior year and now starting to look forward. It works very nicely for your audience as well. Make sure that it's there, that it's clean, and that it's edited. And then I want you to think about the portfolio as a whole. Is there a voice to it? Are we getting a sense of who you are and your personality, both visually and in the writing? You're not going to want to go back, obviously, and rewrite things, but if you feel like your personality is not coming through, maybe go back and edit that letter to the judges a little bit. Or, maybe you need to add a little bling to your portfolio so that it kind of matches who you are. And if who you are is a very direct, straight to the point kind of person, I think a very black and white, clean portfolio is the way to go as well. It's really kind of all up to you, but I want you to think about, is this portfolio saying about me what I want it to say about me? So that's my last slide. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all not feeling a lot of stress. We're going to get through this. If you've got questions on any of this, don't hesitate to contact your teacher. We're here for you. We want to be here for you. We want you to be asking questions. So we'll see ya. Chat with you later. Bye.